and welcome back to The Give and Go. I'm your coach, Reynoso, here with my boy,
Soltero. What's up, y'all?
A very busy week in the sports world here in Austin, Texas, with F1 happening, UT football having a big major match that they unfortunately lost. But then in football, major things happening as well with a lot of title race action in England. You got Atleti enduring their month-long period of tests and trials. You have Inter Miami breaking the Supporters Shield record and Messi getting a hat trick once again in back-to-back games. Where do we go this week, brother? Where should we start with this fascinating week of sports?
I want to start Chelsea-Liverpool.
Oh, what a game.
What a game. A brilliant match. That first half, I seriously didn't want it to end. Yeah. It went by so quick. By far one of the best games I've seen, I say, this year, as far as the season's concerned. What a match,
what a game, bro.
It was awesome. We could see Liverpool and Chelsea. I could watch them play every week, especially the form that they're both in.
It's one of my favorite matchups because it's that classic blue versus red. Yeah. You know, even just aesthetically, it looks so pleasing. And then the players on the pitch, the tactical nature of the game going into this match, the narratives and the story, this game delivered, bro.
Liverpool's first big test, we had a conversation, a discussion, maybe a little debate about it a couple weeks ago.
This was our biggest test, for sure.
Big test, and I think it's the first big pass as well for Arne Slot for Liverpool, because overall, even though at times Chelsea were playing the better football, it was Liverpool's experience, especially in that back line. Robertson, Van Dijk, Konate, and Trent Alexander-Arnold coming up big for Liverpool and ultimately pretty much shutting out this Chelsea offense. Yeah. Chelsea had a lot of the ball, but they couldn't get any goal mouth action going for them. And that's what really impressed me about Liverpool's performance. Gravenberch having another stellar performance. He's been immense this season. We've already highlighted him. He was fantastic. And then Curtis Jones, man, I thought he had a great performance. Overall, just box to box, getting a really good goal. I thought he almost botched that chance, but he was able to get it past Chelsea's goalkeeper, Sanchez. So Liverpool end up getting two very big goals, and it's a very big result. But, man, I think Chelsea at the end of the day kind of shot themselves in the foot a couple times. And I think at the end of the day, if you're Maresca, I'd be a little frustrated because I think Chelsea could have gotten a result out of this match. There's a couple of things that really stood out for me, and specifically, I want to highlight Colwill, man. Colwill, that
clumsy Colwill,
dude. And the thing is, that game against Manchester City, he was at fault for letting Erling Haaland in behind him, giving him way too much space, and he was 100% at fault for giving Liverpool their first goal today. Liverpool at that time, they were attacking, they looked very deadly off the counter, but it was Colwill who just gave them the goal. Make them work for it. You were playing so well on the road at Anfield, and you just gift Liverpool a goal. You can't do that. It was such a desperate lunge. He was frantic in defense, and low-key, he was just having a hard time in isolation against Jota and Mo Salah.
Yeah, he had gotten cooked, by the way, by Salah right before that penalty, too. He was on the floor chasing Salah. There was a penalty that didn't get called, which I'm glad didn't, where Salah kind of waited for him to come back, but then literally moments later, another clumsy tackle, this time catching Curtis Jones, and it's a call you have to make, unfortunately. You could say it's a soft penalty, but at the end of the day, it had to be called because he clipped him. He clipped him in a dangerous position, and then Mo Salah finishing the penalty off. We go 1-0, but that was my takeaway too, honestly, was that Chelsea showed up. They showed up in the sense of possessing the ball, and I thought their midfield specifically was great in this match. I would feel, as from a Chelsea fan perspective, I feel like you would want more out of your offense in this game, man. Because like you said, they didn't generate actual opportunities at the end of the day. A lot of possession, swinging it out to the wingers and hoping that they can make something happen with Pedro Neto or Jadon Sancho. But ultimately, Cole Palmer was pretty invisible in this match. This is a game where you want him to step up in. But for Liverpool, I think what I need to highlight, because my biggest takeaway from this game was how well we defended at the end of the day, man. I was so confident with how we were playing after we were up 2-1 in ways that I haven't been confident in the past. This Liverpool team is a title contender because of our defense and then their clinicality on offense.
Yeah, and you look at Chelsea in the reverse, Reece James's terrible decision to try and keep Curtis Jones offside, but instead keeping him a mile onside. That's why Chelsea lost this game, because they don't have the defensive stars that Liverpool have at the end of the day, nor the defensive experience. And it really showed. I think Liverpool won today because of their defense. Chelsea lost today because of their defense. Even though their offense wasn't as good, they really shot themselves in the foot, because the moment that they equalized, the moment that Chelsea thought, okay, we're back in this game, we can get a go-ahead goal, Reece James keeps Curtis Jones a mile onside. And you just can't do that in these big matches. But Liverpool, the goal that they conceded was marginally onside. It took a perfect run from Nicholas Jackson to score against Liverpool. So yes, I'm double downing on your take, man. Liverpool's defense is elite this year.
I will say, just for Chelsea defense, yeah, James coming back from injury. This is his first game in a long time, I think. You also had Lavia getting minutes in the midfield. That was interesting to see. It's been a while since he played. Kova with his mistakes. But Robert Sanchez, I think, is an interesting point of this defense. I feel like he could have gotten to the ball on that Curtis Jones touch there. People were criticizing Curtis Jones for trying to take a touch in that moment. He got away with it, but that touch was long, bro. And I thought Sanchez didn't rush out quick enough. And then also a little bit of anxiety that's created from this Chelsea defense is I don't trust that dude with the ball either, man.
Oh, no.
He is risky with it, and he gave it away multiple times in this game, and I've seen it before as well. I was watching, I'm like, I don't know if he's the goalkeeper that you need to be a top club, like top 2, top 3 in the Prem. Yeah. He might be a mid-table goalkeeper at the end of the day, man, because his decision-making and I think a little bit of his lack of awareness can sometimes damage his own back line.
Yeah, he's nonchalant. And in a bad way, he's not like cold with it, you know. So that it's definitely a problem. I remember like in the first 20 minutes, he almost just gave it. He almost like basically gave Liverpool a goal because he was just sloppy with his passing from the back. But one last thing about Chelsea. You already mentioned it, but I want to just talk about it. Where the fuck was Cole Palmer? No,
I agree, bro.
He was poor today.
Yeah, where's Big Game Palmer? Where is he?
And this is the games where I think everyone's wanting Palmer to pop off to say that, okay, he is an established star in the Premier League. He's not just a stat guy who gets all of his goals against lower table teams. These are the games where he has to show up. He has to be influential. But dude, every touch was heavy. He couldn't get around any Liverpool players, and not even that, he couldn't influence the game off the pass. He just couldn't find his teammates, man. Madueke had a quiet game. Yeah. The left side was really active. Gusto, Sancho, and then Neto when he came on in the second half. That was actually fine. I think they were doing most of the work for Chelsea offensively. And then the midfield, Caicedo, Lavia, I thought they were actually fantastic.
Yeah, I thought Caicedo was great. That ball was glued to his feet in so many circumstances, turning Liverpool's midfield. I thought he was awesome. And Cole Palmer is an interesting one, man. Interesting one, because he's going to keep putting up crazy numbers. He's going to have amazing moments. But if you want to be considered an upper echelon player in the Prem, even or even just in the world, you have to deliver in these big matches. And I felt like this was a circumstance where he fell very much short, man. Yeah. I'm a Cole Palmer fan, but I need to see it happen at some time. It's unfortunate that didn't happen here for him. They face Arsenal in like 3 weeks, I think. Yeah. That's the next opportunity.
Yeah, next opportunity. Yeah, I'm not giving up on him by any means, but it's just good Lord. I had high hopes, if you will, just from a neutral perspective, because the idea of Palmer popping off is an enticing one.
Yeah, and a lot of notable things happen here, man. That the Arne Slot and Darwin Nunez crashing out at the end of the game. You see that when a call wasn't made, or a call was made against Darwin Nunez where he was called for a foul. Yeah. He gets very emotional with it, and then Arne Slot as well. Yeah. You see him actually break his character and just lose his mind at the call that the ref had made. I thought that was a hilarious moment because you don't really see this guy show much emotion, but slowly the Prem is starting to get to him. Starting to get to him, to that expressive nature of his. And we're going to end up seeing his true character by the end of the season, I think.
Yeah. There was a moment, too, when there was a potential penalty for Salah, right? But it wasn't. And he just, like, kicked the ball away, Arne Slot. He's getting way more emotional now. But, I mean, that's a Prem, man. You got to at this point.
Yeah, bro. It brings out the crazy in you. And last thing. Salah, man. Mohamed Salah. Outside of Messi, possibly the best playmaker I've ever seen, man. Because the fact he's done this for so long now, the fact that he does it so consistently but at a high level, It's crazy. If you're watching the game and you see a run being made that is potentially dangerous, you can almost always have faith that Mo Salah is going to time a well-weighted ball and pass to that player. He did it twice in this game. Unfortunately, one time it was offside, but it was the same situation. He has to make a clinical pass, and for the most part, he always gets it right. It's incredible, bro, because that's just another facet of his game. He's scoring 20, 30 goals in the Prem for the past 6-7 years, man.
Yeah.
But on top of that, he can assist, dude, like no other. His playmaking ability is truly extraordinary, in my opinion. So that has to be given credit here, because I think it was that playmaking ability today that gave us the victory with that second goal specifically. Seeing Curtis Jones run, a run that the defenders themselves didn't see, seeing it and placing it perfectly so that Curtis Jones could finish the opportunity. Mo Salah, one of the best playmakers I've ever seen. Let's work our way backwards here in terms of games in the order that they happened. Manchester City gets a big 3 points here at Molineux as they saved 3 points in this match, scoring a last-minute header. John Stones making it 2-1, and Gvardiol scoring a banger in the process as well. Let's talk about this match real quick. And I mean, first and foremost, let's just acknowledge what's the biggest headline from this match, which was the call to give the goal, the second goal for Manchester City. Was that a goal? Yes or no? What was your take on that?
I think so. I have zero problem with it. Even if Bernardo Silva was a lot taller, right? I think it would. I'm always of the end that you should just let those in, man. Like, I hate it when refs try and see if their goalkeeper's vision is obstructed. I always just say if it's a goal on those plays. That's just how I see it. But in this case, it definitely was a goal where Silva really was not a part of the play.
You see what Grealish said?
Yeah.
Grealish saying that Bernardo Silva's too short to be interfering, and honestly, that's I think that's pretty factual there. Like, he had no part there, and so small that he didn't really impede the goalkeeper either with his physicality. Jose Sa pushes him off, and then I think he had a clear view of what was happening with John Stones just rifling a header into the back of the net, and it seems for Manchester City as they save. I reiterate, save, bro. 3 points in this match. They were about to drop him, bro. They were about to drop him at Molineux, but they're lucky to get 3 points here, in my opinion.
Wolves just can't win. They just really can't. They played a great game. They kept it tight. Honestly, they should have had 2 goals if they just had better finishing. Let's be honest. But Manchester City doing Manchester City things. We've seen this for the last 6 straight years. It hasn't changed. And honestly, I knew they were going to get a goal, man. I didn't know how. I just knew they were going to get a goal. Even going into the 90th minute, I was like, something's going to happen,
for sure.
And what? They had like 15, 18 corner kicks. One of them was eventually going to crack the Wolves' defense, and John Stones was the one that did it.
No, yeah. Manchester City, 3 major points here. Real quick, Gvardiol's development, man, it's incredible. 22 years old, continuing this trend of scoring bangers, bro. Yeah. That's his thing. Scoring bangers in Champions League semifinals or in games like this. It truly is, I think, fascinating to see how a player who started his career off as a center back, then shifted over to a fullback position, can kind of be a versatile defender in any single way, but then can also have this offensive output, because so far he's had 2 goals in the Prem, but he really is becoming a weapon offensively. I think a true danger point. If he has the ball outside the box, that's a crazy weapon to have from a defensive player, man. Yeah. So I just want to highlight that, because I think he's developing into potentially becoming, if not already, one of the best fullbacks in the game.
Yeah, and his style is so different than most modern fullbacks. He really doesn't use pace. He just uses his own skill and pure IQ. You really don't see that nowadays. Most fullbacks are very, very pacey, or if they don't have the pace, they're just very defensive. But Gvardiol plays it like a midfielder, like a defensive midfielder, but he just plays it in that wide position. He can also play center back as a part of a back 3 as well. So he's incredibly versatile. He's really grown into the City side, but I mean, he's been good ever since he was at Leipzig, honestly. But this trajectory just kind of makes sense. Like, he's fulfilled his potential, and he may not be done growing as well.
Yeah, I don't think he is. Yeah. I don't think he is. I think he truly does have incredible potential as a fullback or as a center back, man. I really do. So Gvardiol getting a goal here. John Stones saving Manchester City now for, I think, the second time now in this season with the late minute header. Stonesy getting 3 points to keep Manchester City in the title race. And the reason it was so important was because the third team challenging for the title lost points this weekend with Arsenal, man, losing away to Bournemouth 2-0 after what ultimately ended up being the deciding factor in this game. Saliba getting a red card, and Arsenal looking inferior after that point forward.
Yeah, man. Red card in the 30th minute, clear as day. A massive denial of a goal-scoring opportunity. Evan Nielsen gets through. Saliba just, I don't know what the hell he was thinking.
You got to let that.
Just let it go.
Play the odds.
It's 45-yard run. Just see if you can push him outside a little bit. Maybe he still gets a shot off, but just put pressure on him. But no, he takes him down. It's a red card, and Arsenal have to play down a man for over an hour. It's brutal, and they don't have their two best players on the pitch already. No Odegaard, no Saka. It just made it almost impossible for Arsenal to get anything from this match. And also consider the fact that even before the red card, Bournemouth came to play. This is just bad from the very beginning for Arsenal, man. And there was just no hope in this game. No. There's just no hope.
I'm glad, though. I'm glad someone took advantage of being up a man, because I've been watching some games like the Uzbekistan situation the other day where they couldn't take advantage of Iran being down a man. Finally we see a team just take over. Bournemouth got it. It was a party, man. It really was. With Evan Nielsen with Kluivert scoring the game winner, but then that set piece goal off the corner, man.
Dude, Christie's goal, man. What a touch to set him up, and then he just blasted it.
The touch was crazy.
Touch was crazy,
man. Beautiful, beautiful goal. And Arsenal now in a really dangerous situation going into next week, as they now have no Saliba, no Odegaard, and potentially no Saka for their matchup against my beautiful Liverpool.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be crazy. But hey, this is where you try and win titles if you're Arsenal. If you're Mikel Arteta, it doesn't matter. You'll have 11 men at the start. You just got to tell your boys to sharpen up, man. And you got to go for the 3 points. A draw, I just don't think Arsenal can really afford that anymore. So, given that they've dropped points now against Brighton, now Bournemouth, it's just Arsenal needs to go for the win. They have to.
Yeah, and look, with Arsenal, I can't injuries you can't expect. I can't be mad about the Odegaard injury. Yeah. That just happens. But I am a little just disappointed in how they're disciplined. 3 red cards now in 8 games. This has been a sign, dude. This has been a sign because they've been playing games very marginally. For example, that Leicester game, I think they really pushed it to the final moments. Mm-hmm. You can't allow yourself to be exposed in this way with lack of discipline ultimately, which was what happened with the Saliba opportunity, because now you shoot yourself in the foot, not just for 1 game, but for 2 games, bro. Missing Saliba is going to be huge. And you have backups. So, you invested in Calafiori. Potentially he can maybe come in and play that role.
Yeah, you could.
In the midfield, Odegaard's out, but you invested in Mikel Merino. I'm not saying he's the same player, but you're trying to add depth to the midfield positions. I think they're shooting themselves in the foot here, bro, with these type of performances. And it's why I ultimately have not been on this Arsenal train during the Premier League title race portion, because I think when it comes to winning championships against a fiery Manchester City squad or a Liverpool team that's ignited the way they are right now, it's about margins, man. And you can't be making dumb decisions like these.
No, but it's been notable this entire season. Saliba and Gabriel have been sloppy. In every game, they make a massive mistake, and it's up to their opponent to see if they're clinical enough to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
But their defense just is nowhere near as strong as it was last year. And I think that's why I really credit Liverpool's center backs, for especially Van Dijk, for being so consistent for so long. Because if Gabriel and Saliba could have just kept up their form from last year, I do think Arsenal would be in a much better situation, but they've both dipped in form this year.
Yeah, that's true. If we had last year's Arsenal defensive line, man.
Yeah, it'd be a lot different.
It'd be a much better title race right now. But I think there's, because the stakes are this high, I do think they're entering a danger zone now of slipping out of the title race. It's that important. Even though on paper it's only 3 points, it's a big moment with Liverpool facing off against Arsenal with the ability to make it a 6-point gap. Yeah. Man, I'm worried. I'm worried for Arsenal, but I'm very happy from a Liverpool perspective. Other notable game that I saw in the Prem, just really quickly want to highlight it because it's an interesting one. Manchester United versus Brentford.
Okay.
Will you allow me to just talk about them real quick?
Sure.
Yeah, I know, man. I know.
Sure.
I know, but let me give Man United fans just something. Because in this game, they went down 1-0 to Brentford.
Okay.
Brentford came to play for 30 minutes. And then afterwards, actually, that play was really interesting because De Ligt had gotten a bloody head injury or something like that.
Oh yeah.
So he had to get forcibly subbed off, and in the ensuing possession off a corner kick, Brentford scores. The reaction was crazy from De Ligt, he was losing his mind because he wanted to stay on the pitch. But bro, you can't fight these rules, man. This is what happens, bro. You're bleeding, dude. For Christ's sake.
Yeah.
So they concede. And then what I saw afterwards was, I hesitate to say anything truly positive, but it was good enough because we got Rasmus Højlund scoring a goal.
It was a good one.
Good goal.
It was a good one.
Chip finish.
Yeah.
Good to see that from him with a nice Bruno Fernandes assist.
Yeah.
And then Garnacho finishing a shot off. Ball comes in the air. Rashford was actually sending in some really good passes this whole game. I thought he was nice to see. And it's crazy because, in my opinion, this was the best Manchester United performance I've seen this year.
Okay.
And, you got goals from Garnacho. You got goals from Højlund. And the caveat is that it was against fucking Brentford. It's Brentford.
And that's what I have to say is I don't rate any victory against Brentford. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Brentford is the most bang average team in Prem history in the sense that they are going to be right at the middle of the table no matter what. I'm never going to expect Brentford to win, but I won't be surprised when they do.
Yeah.
I won't. Because they're going to finish in 10th to 12th place, just like they always do. And to do that, they got to get a couple of upsets every now and then, right? But to finish in 10th to 12th place, they're also going to lose a lot of games, man. So I don't really rate Brentford. They're a fantastic football club considering the low money that they have. And they can get results. But at the end of the day, man, I mean, you have a squad like United, you have a squad like Brentford. Yeah, United should win. A lot of teams are going to beat Brentford this year. So I'm not going to rate it. But yeah, it is. Højlund's goal was actually really good.
Højlund's goal was good. And I mean, I think that's true. But I think that's a sign of how bad Manchester United has been that this is the highlight of their season.
Yeah.
It's kind of what I'm getting at.
For
sure. What I'm saying? I'm not rating this, bro.
I'm not rating it at all. I can't.
I think me talking about it is like highlighting it.
Fuck United, bro. I wish we did. I don't want them in my mouth right now, bro.
It is true because we have a lot more football to talk about. So let's just move on to that, man. Let's just move on to that. I've said my part. I've said my part. Man United fans, that's all you're getting, man. That's all you're getting. Let's move on. You want to stay in England or you want to go to Spain?
I'd rather go to Spain.
Yeah. What did you see in Spain?
I just saw the Atleti game. I caught a bit of the Madrid game. I didn't even bother with the Sevilla game because I knew what was going to happen, and literally what I thought was going to happen exactly did. Lewandowski goes off, Rafinha goes off, Pedri scores a banger, a golazo, bro. And Sevilla are just down in the dumps as usual, bro.
One of the worst Sevilla teams I've seen in a while, man. I think so because we saw them play earlier this year, and it was just as bad. Yeah. Let me just run through this game real quick. 5-1 victory here. And really all I had to take away from this was it's the third game in a row now where Barcelona has ended the match after the 35th minute.
Yeah.
Against Deportivo Alavés, they did it, where they won like 3-0, I think. And then against Young Boys in the Champions League, 5-0. They were up like 3-0 by 35th minute, bro. Sheesh. It's a crazy run that they're on right now. You get goals from, you're right, Leva, Pedri, and then Borre, I think is his name, or Torre.
Pablo Torre?
Torre, Pablo Torre as well. Gavi getting minutes at the end of this game. Finally coming back on the pitch and making his return after, I believe it was a torn ACL. Yeah. So now you have another weapon to add to this Hansi Flick army, if you will, because the way they're playing has been incredible football, bro. And really the only thing I want to bring up about Barcelona doesn't have to do with this game because they maintain their lead at the top of the table, but they look as good as they could possibly look going into a Clásico this weekend.
Oh, yeah. 100%. So much so that I think they're heavily favored. Madrid obviously are going to show up, and it'll be really interesting because this is Mbappe's first Clásico. This is where the pressure's really on for him to perform, and just knowing the history of the game, especially since he was a teenager, seeing Messi and Ronaldo go at it, I feel like he's going to have something to say. But he's playing probably one of the most informed Barca teams since Messi was last at the club, bro. So this is going to be a crazy game. But then Vinicius is going off too. Yeah. He had a great game this weekend as well as Madrid go off against Celta. So this is going to be a really, really fun El Clásico. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. I do think Barcelona is going to outright win this game.
Game is at Santiago Bernabéu. Sticking with it?
I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too.
And what's scary about that is that'll create even further separation between them and Madrid. And there's already a big gap between Barca and Atleti right now. Yeah. So the moment Atletico dropped just even one more game of points, it's over. Title race is over for Atletico specifically.
Okay.
For Atletico.
I can agree with that.
Yeah. So I'm just like...
But I wouldn't go as far as to say Real Madrid, but I do think...
No, I wouldn't either.
I think winning against Real Madrid away from home, I think is a huge mental attack. I feel like getting a result at the Bernabeu and killing them in the process, if that's what they end up doing, will say a ton about this Barcelona team. And I do think they're primed for potentially doing that because the form of this Real Madrid team, man, despite them getting results and ultimately getting 3 points, I don't think it's that great. I'll be honest with you, man.
No, it's still spotty. I mean, Celta could have had 2 or 3 goals. Their finishing was so bad at times. But yeah, Madrid just get caught off on counterattacks. And if you consider that you're going to have Rafinha coming at you, you're going to have Pedri coming at you, pulling the strings. You're going to have Lamine Yamal coming at you on the other wing. Like, Madrid's going to be in for a hectic day at the back without Dani Carvajal.
That's the thing. We saw Lucas Vázquez make a terrible mistake in that Celta Vigo game that ultimately allowed that goal to happen for them to tie it up for a moment in that match. You see Carvajal's injury showing itself right away. Like the lack of presence there is so notable, man, because you don't really have a player of that caliber to just put in. And so I think that's big. And then I think overall, I think I saw a stat that Real Madrid has conceded more shots than taken in the last 4 games, which is crazy because that includes Atletico Madrid. That includes Deportivo Alavés. It's nuts, the teams that they face. And I think they've only won 2, tied 1, lost 1 because Lille was one of those games as well.
Yes.
So Real Madrid right now, I think, is probably one of their worst forms that we've seen. Granted, it's still Real Madrid and they can still do amazing things when they lock in.
Yeah.
Like we saw from Mbappe scoring probably his best Real Madrid goal so far.
It was classic Mbappe.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah.
It was a classic Mbappe finish.
Yeah. But I think there's something to be said about the workload being put on guys like Bellingham and the other midfielders because, bro, Bellingham is working his ass off right now, trying to make up for essentially Mbappe and Vinny just staying up and not really doing much defensively, in my opinion.
Yeah. I wonder what Toni Kroos is doing right now. I really do, man. Like, is he like, fuck, I should have stayed 1 more year?
Yeah, bro. I think he sees Bellingham just working right now. He's just like, dude, I fucked him, low-key.
Yeah.
Ah, shit.
Or is he just somewhere in Mexico having a margarita?
That too?
I don't know.
That too. Yeah, maybe feeling affirmed that he left at the right time.
Yeah, right.
Damn, did I wonder? But I'm saying, man, it feels like every time we talk about Real Madrid, we do mention some sort of warning signs being there. And I keep waiting for them to go away, but bro, the blinker is still on.
Yeah.
When are we gonna acknowledge that,
dude? Honestly, though, your point is crazy because if Barca get a statement, like what if they win 2-3-0?
Yeah, that's crazy.
That would be
Although I don't see Real Madrid getting shut out.
Yeah, I don't either, but
still though, 2-1, 3-1.
Yeah,
Lamine Yamal cooking.
It's gonna be fun, man. It's gonna be really fun.
It's gonna be a great game. Now
for Atletico.
Yeah, let's go there.
We had to wait a while to get our goals against Leganes. You know, it took a long time. We eventually get the win 3-1. We got the victory because Leganes ultimately just don't have that much quality. You know, but looking at the squad for Leganes, just because I haven't seen them play football in a long time, I was just curious. I was like, let me look through the squad, see what I'm looking at, see what I have to deal with today. They actually had some interesting players. Specifically, they have 2 really good holding midfielders. Cisse's one of them, an African product who's been with Leganes for a couple of years. He had a great game today, actually. And then alongside him, Neyu, who got a banger of a goal today that actually took Leganes up 1-0 against Atletico. So Leganes had a really good midfield, and their defense honestly wasn't that bad. They have a really athletic fullback, Frenchman Rosier, who's just going up and down the flank, very physical fullback. Their front line was really weak, though. And that's ultimately why Leganes lost this game, is because they just could not get the ball past halfway in the second half. They actually had a brilliant first half. They just couldn't maintain it because they just don't have the quality to hold on to the ball. Atletico eventually took over in the second half. They took advantage of that fatigue that was happening in the Leganes team, and we just banged it in eventually. We just eventually forced our way in and got a couple of goals. Griezmann getting a very sneaky goal. Sorloth getting a very cheeky goal. Axel Witsel winding back the clock to his midfield days, getting a beautiful assist. Julian Alvarez being a dog and forcing a goal, getting Sorloth another goal. So Atletico, at the end of the day, it's a good result. But yeah, if Leganes were just better offensively, honestly, I don't think Atletico would have won this.
100%, man. How was the goal y'all conceded? What happened there?
Was
someone at fault, or was it just Leganes masterclass?
It was just a really good play down the right-hand side. The ball ends up going to Neyu, the midfielder, and he just smashes it, bro. He smashed it. Ends up hitting the top of the net. Nothing Oblak could have done. It was a banger. It was a golazo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Atletico Madrid. I saw the goals. Very similar goals, all three. Didn't they all come from the right side?
Yeah.
Swinging the ball into the middle, and then Sorloth with the little heel finish was beautiful. Griezmann sneaky finish with Simeone assisting, I believe, his first goal or assist contribution for Atletico Madrid.
Yeah, he had a good appearance. But Griezmann, man, still pretty much doing everything for us because he gets the goal. He also created a lot of opportunities. Correa should have had a goal from an assist from Griezmann, honestly, but he
Been saying that for years.
Completely botched it. Took a really heavy touch when he honestly could have just one-touched it. But Griezmann was everywhere, and he shouldn't be, because he's getting older in age. I need him just focusing on offense, but he was actually tracking back, putting in tackles. Damn. I'm low-key kind of concerned because I just don't know where his energy levels are going to be come midway through the season, because he's working out there. And, Griezmann doesn't move as nimbly as he once used to. He doesn't have the same engine as he once had. So I'm just concerned for his health. But right now, he's giving everything for Atleti, and I do love to see it.
4 goals, 3 assists in La Liga so far.
Yeah.
Crazy. 7 goal and assist contributions. And, hey, he retired from the French national team. So international breaks, he gets to reset.
That's true. That's true. That'll help.
Maybe that helps.
That'll help.
Maybe that helps.
Yeah.
Atletico Madrid getting 3 points here in this comeback against Leganes.
Oh, and just fun fact, if you were wondering where Sebastian Haller is at, he's at Leganes now.
Really?
That's where he's at. So
interesting.
If you were just wondering where he is, I found him. I found him.
What are your thoughts on Pulisic's season so far with AC Milan, man? Is this the best form we've seen him in?
Glad you're asking, brother, because
it's time we bring it up.
I didn't get my Pulisic fix on Tuesday against Mexico.
Yeah.
He went to Milan early, so I was like, you know what? Gotta catch my boy play. I didn't get my fix, so I catch the Milan Udinese game. It was actually a really interesting game table-wise, because if Udinese had won, they actually would have leapfrogged Milan and got into the top 5.
Damn, look at Udinese.
So Udinese having a decent start to the season, Milan as well. But here's what was really interesting about the starting lineup for Milan. Christian Pulisic, not on the wing, but in the attacking midfield position. Leao and Abraham start on the bench, so it was Okafor on the left, Chukwueze on the right, Morata up top, and Pulisic in the pocket. And honestly, he thrived. He was pulling the strings, drifting to the left, drifting to the right, penetrating at times, but also showing his creative ability on the ball that we've honestly seen throughout his entire career. And that's what I really want to highlight. And it kind of gets me wondering if Pochettino is going to maybe try and flirt with this formation as well, because Pulisic has always been almost like a hybrid playmaker winger. He's never just been out and out. He's always had explosive pace. He's always been an incredible dribbler, but kind of the Dortmund way, he's also been a good passer. And now that he doesn't have the same explosiveness anymore, he's still got the same creativeness. So I actually really like Fonseca's idea of putting Pulisic in the middle, because he doesn't have to run as much, but he can still penetrate. And he's still very good on the ball. He's still very good off the pass. He's got incredible IQ and playmaking ability. And it worked. He ended up getting a beautiful assist. Chukwueze gets the goal. Milan go up 1-0. And Milan had a really, really good first 30 minutes, but then there was a red card.
Yeah.
Then there was a red card, and this game devolved into the scrappiest game that you could have imagined, man. Thierry Reinders, Milan's defense got broke. He tries to get positioning on the inside. In doing so, he trips the player, right? Okay. And the player was in on goal. Denial of a goal-scoring opportunity. Reinders sees a red, and Milan just go into defensive mode. And Udinese, unfortunately, just weren't that good. And it's actually kind of disappointing, because I was hoping that they could show me that they could be a top 5 worthy team. They're not.
They're not?
They're not.
They're not. But hey, I'm not even here to talk about the game. I'm here to talk about Pulisic personally. That's what I'm here for. So let's focus in on that, because the more I think about it, bro, I think finally Pulisic's entire career has been lined up for the first time in his club career, I will say.
Right.
With injuries first and foremost. This is the healthiest I've seen him, which I think is a big thing to say about Pulisic, because he has dealt with injuries for a long time when it comes to club football. But then also being handed the keys of an offense. Yeah. Didn't have them fully at Dortmund. Didn't have them fully at Chelsea either. But at AC Milan, it feels like finally a team has given him full responsibility of the offense in the way that you just described, and he's actually delivering for them, which is what makes for such a crazy story right now, what we're seeing from Pulisic. 5 goals, 3 assists in 8 matches in Serie A at the moment. He is going bonkers, dude.
Yeah.
Bonkers. And I think it's a really good sign because I agree. I think Pochettino should just copy whatever Pulisic is doing at club, put him in the same position at international and figure the rest out. Because that is your most important player right now. Keep him happy, keep him fresh, and I think he will deliver, bro, because the form he's in is in my opinion, the best form I've seen him in at club level. And it's crazy because I do think he's surpassed other Milan offensive players now. Like, I think he's better than Leao, which is crazy to say, but like there was a time where Rafael Leao was going to be like the star, didn't really live up to it. I think Pulisic has surpassed him. Chukwueze as well, I don't think has been as consistent as Pulisic has been in his time with AC Milan, and then Morata and the striker is a different conversation. But I think Pulisic is at this moment Milan's best player and basically their poster boy, man. The same way he is for the U.S. men's national team.
Yeah, it's fantastic. But for the USA, I actually need him to be in that pocket position because the last couple of games, even in the Copa America, when the USA struggle, it also correlates with Pulisic not getting on the ball as often. The more he touches the ball, the more he's involved, the better the USA play in general. Him being out on the wing, I just think there's a trend that you won't touch the ball as often if you're not in the midfield. So I think Pochettino, if he wants to change something immediately and be bold tactically, he's got to put Pulisic there. He's already shown that he can do it. As you just said, he's popping off statistically in Serie A. And yeah, you're right. He is the poster boy. He's the star right now offensively alongside other really good players. But if he's in that pocket position, man, feeding Balogun, feeding Timothy Way on the right side, and then maybe you feed Josh Sargent, you put him outside in that left-hand side, I think the USA could almost find a rekindling of their offense because right now it's been pretty stale.
And he speaks Italian now.
Hell yeah.
You see that shit? Got interviewed and he spoke in Italian. Yeah. Crazy, man. Really. Yeah, I think he's loving it. I think he's loving his time at AC Milan right now.
Yeah. I ended up staying in Italy for another match. I wanted to see Juventus play because they've only conceded one goal so far, which is
interesting.
Pretty crazy. And I wanted to see, okay, is there anything here? Is there any hype here? Can they be title contenders? Napoli have actually gotten off to a really excellent start this season. So I wanted to see if there's anyone that could contest Napoli and Inter Milan, for example. So I caught the Juventus game, and they're playing against Lazio, who's also in the top 5 at the moment of the Serie A table. Unfortunately, I don't think I was able to get a good idea of how this Juve team plays because there's a red card in the 30th minute for Lazio.
Frustrating, man.
Super frustrating, and it's even more frustrating because Lazio were the better team before that red card, and honestly, for 30 minutes after that red card, they were still the more dangerous team. So if anything, what I gathered was that I don't think Juventus all that much. I'm going to be completely honest. They play good football. They have good footballers, but I just think they play very safe, you know? Thiago Motta, and I don't even think that's a criticism. If anything, this team's probably playing above what they should be playing. So it's actually credit to Motta for getting this team to be playing at a high level, especially defensively. But I just think they play a very safe style of football. And the thing is, it works because eventually if you just hold on to the ball long enough, they play a very good possessive style of football, you'll probably eventually get a goal, especially if you have very good defense against most Serie A teams. But man, I wish this game was 11v11 because Lazio were cooking, bro. They were playing great football. Again, even down a man. But after 30-40 minutes of being down a man, they finally got tired. And it was actually an own goal from Mario Gila, the Spaniard center back, who ended up getting the goal for Lazio. So really unfortunate. They deserved way more. But I just think this is just a small setback for Lazio because they got some fun players, man. Nuno Tavares, you know, the Arsenal loanee who was at Marseille last year, he's in this team. Wow. He has 5 assists this year. Five? And in the left back position. Wow. And dude, you got to see him play, man. He's honestly incredibly entertaining because he's a unit, man. He just, at times he'll get the ball and he just goes. He just goes and runs. And then of course there's our boy, we haven't talked to him in a while, Tati Castellanos is the starting striker now for Lazio. He actually pulled it off. Like the move from New York to Girona to Lazio. He's replaced Ciro Immobile, and it was a phasing out of Immobile last year. Castellanos is the starting striker at Lazio now, and
that's crazy.
And his movement is still just as good. Again, it's so unfortunate that Lazio were down a man because they couldn't be as offensive. But behind Castellanos, they have Aboulaye Dia, Senegalese striker, who's also very crafty and shifty at times. So Lazio got some studs on their team, bro. So I'm very interested to see where Lazio can go this year in Serie A.
That's interesting, man. Yeah, Lazio football is an interesting one. I'd like to see a game from them. I would. For Juventus, it's also interesting because, man, I feel like they have fallen off a bit in these past few years from the starting 11s that we used to see the Juventus put out to what we see now. I think it's different, bro. I mean, you got names. You have names. You have Vlahovic. You have Douglas Luiz in the midfield. Kefrem Thuram. But I don't know. I feel like the names aren't of those of great players, and so you're not going to see a title contending team here. And it sounds like that's the way we're going because Juventus did get 3 points. They're 3 points behind Napoli at the moment, but I remember Inter was a great team last year. Napoli seems to be back to their winning ways. Yeah. Do you see them as a team that can ultimately overtake either of these two teams? I'm going to guess your answer is probably a no, isn't it?
It's definitely a no. I see Juve as top 4 because, like I said, they're so solid. And I think that's all actually credit to Motta for just getting this team to play very possessive style of football. But to overtake Inter, to overtake an offensive Napoli, you have to be offensive yourself as well. I don't really see Juve as an offensive team, bro. Like, even Vlahovic, you named, he works so hard, he barely touches the ball on this team. But it's simply because he doesn't have anybody to combine with, man. I mean, their next best player is Cambiaso. And I think that's a problem. I think that's a problem from a name perspective, man.
Yeah.
And so, like,
Aura, bro.
Good for Cambiaso, man. Good for him. But Juventus, if they want to be a big club, you have to have bigger names. They just don't got it.
Is there anything, though, to be said about 1 goal conceded in 8 matches? 1 goal, bro.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Anything.
It's why I think they'll finish in the top 4. If they didn't have that defense, I would actually consider them like a 5 through 10 type of position. Yeah. But since their defense is so solid, and it really is, I do see them finishing the top 4. But as champions, I don't see it.
Well, here's a fun question because you saw AC Milan and you saw Juventus. Which team finishes higher based off of 90 minutes of football you saw from both teams?
Right. Yeah, just 90 minutes so far.
Who finishes higher?
I think Milan finish higher. I just think they can figure out ways to beat teams that'll bunker in. Whereas I think Juventus, I think they'll eventually struggle. I think this style of football doesn't lend itself to getting late goals against a team that's bunkering in. Or if you're playing against a Lazio that has 11 men, or a Milan or an Inter or a Napoli that has 11, I just don't think Juve will be able to get as many goals as those opponents.
We've touched on Italy. We've touched on Spain. We touched on England. Let's touch on Germany. Headlines: Harry Kane hat-trick.
Yep.
Hat-trick against the mighty Stuttgart as Bayern Munich wins 4-0. That's all I got to say about that game. We move on to the next. Bayer Leverkusen versus Frankfurt in a really fun match because 2 of our favorite players in the Bundesliga going head-to-head.
That's why I watched it. Seriously, man.
Yeah.
I had to see my boy Boniface, and then I
had to see my boy Marmoush.
And I had to see Marmoush too because of your highlight of him 2 weeks ago, man. I wanted to see the Marmoush show, and dude, I gotta say, he's a brilliant player. He's the real fucking deal. Omar Marmoush, bro.
I think that can translate to bigger leagues.
I can.
Like, just watching how he plays in the Bundesliga. There's some players that you see and you're like, I don't know, but I think Marmoush, man, the things he's trying out there, the touches he gets on the ball, and how every time, basically, when Frankfurt wants to go forward, he has to get on the ball at some point and do something. I think it's crazy the responsibility he has, but I like what I see from him, man. I really do. Got to go in this game, be it a penalty.
Yeah, he drew the penalty as well, but using that really quick feet and shiftiness that he has that you've highlighted already. And that's what I really like about him, man. He is, for a striker, for a forward, he's not just a winger, he's not just an attacking midfielder. He is really nimble. He's really quick. And so you get really interesting features with this guy because usually players like that are like Odegaard, who don't score that many goals, but this guy's doing it all. He's scoring, he's assisting. He drew a penalty today. He finishes the penalty as well. He hit the post at one point. He was setting up his teammates, Ekitike, alongside him. Dude, Frankfurt's offense, because of Marmoush, is electric, bro. But I also want to highlight just very quickly his teammate Ekitike, the Frenchman, man, from PSG. Dude, he's actually a baller.
Yeah.
He's really, really good, man. man. He scored a beautiful goal in this game as well. Fortunately, it was called offsides correctly, but he was also just penetrating every chance that Frankfurt would give either Marmoush or Ekitike, man. So Frankfurt, just from those two guys, have an really entertaining offense.
I want Marmoush. I want Marmoush. I want him Egyptian. When we phase out Salah, I want Marmoush. I want Marmoush. And Ekitike, man, I've had an interesting journey with him because I hated baby Ekitike. I hated that guy. Before he was at Brest, before he was at PSG, I think he was at Brest or some red club in France.
Yeah.
And I remember he put up numbers there. And then PSG got him, like 19-year-old Frenchman, and I hated his tenure at PSG. I don't think I saw much in that sense. But hey, he was a young player, makes the move to Frankfurt. And I think what we're seeing now between him and Marmoush is one of those like you can sometimes see like Frankfurt's going through their golden days right now. Like that's going to be a vintage photo of Ekitike and Marmoush playing together before they went to their big clubs, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what we're actively seeing, man, is two players on the come up, on the way to making big moves, because Ekitike has had some crazy runs this year also as well in the Bundesliga. And I think he's really, in a way, proved me wrong from the, I would say, somewhat woeful seasons he's had in Ligue 1 outside that one season where he went off to get bought from PSG. I think now he's developing into a player that many people thought he would become. So I think that's huge. But it's interesting, bro, because I don't know if there's much else out there for Frankfurt. And I think it holds them back a lot. And it's why after this game and this result, I feel like Frankfurt's been overachieving so far this season. The fact that they were even this high in the table because of the talent of those two players.
That's why they're this good, because of those two players. I completely agree. And to even go further with this, Frankfurt's problems, their midfield. They just cannot hold possession. No. They just can't do it. Their only style is absorb, release Marmoush or Ekitike. That's it. Thing is, it does work because they are that good, those two players.
That's crazy.
They truly are. But the problem is, when you play a team like Leverkusen, who have an elite midfield, it's just going to make it really hard to win. Like, because you're just going to invite so much pressure. And when you have players like Florian Wirtz, Grimaldo, Boniface, who's cooking this year, who also got a really good goal as well in this match, you're going to concede a lot. And that's exactly what happened in this match. It was tight at times, but Leverkusen created way more opportunities than Frankfurt. Even though Marmoush and Ekitike were brilliant, it's just Leverkusen, they had chance after chance after chance. They were eventually going to score a couple of goals, and they were the better team.
Yeah, and that's kind of in the way, the thing that kind of let me down about Frankfurt when I checked in on them after I had seen the results on my phone. I was like, let me catch a game from Frankfurt, and I saw them tie Bayern Munich. Incredible performance, but a lucky one at the end of the day because Marmoush and Ekitike had to go off. But I was hoping that I'd see more of a complete unit with the likes of Marmoush and Ekitike guiding them and getting these amazing results. But what I'm seeing right now is two guys basically carrying a whole offense and getting them really far in the Bundesliga, at least table-wise. So I think that's really impressive. But Bayer Leverkusen was the better team here. They ultimately did deserve to win this with Andrich as well getting a goal in this game. And Boniface, although missing the penalty, gets it back by scoring a header.
A really poor penalty. If you didn't see it, he just basically shot it right at the keeper, just slightly to his side. But his build-up play was fantastic. Eventually got a header goal, so he was able to redeem his performance in the second half. But overall, Leverkusen just showing the same marks that we've seen this last month. Their defense is not as strong. It really isn't. But it's the same guys. It's Tapsoba, Hincapié, Grimaldo. It's the same guys. They're just not as tight. So if you're playing Leverkusen now, you could definitely back yourself to get a goal or two, but their offense is still honestly brilliant. And that's what's going to make Leverkusen a very exciting team this year, both in the Champions League and in the Bundesliga. Atleti play Lille this week for Champions League.
I got RB Leipzig.
You got RB Leipzig? So I had to do some scouting, all right? I caught Lille, and it was actually going to be a good game because they played Monaco, who were top of the table going into the week. It was in Monaco, so I was interested to see, all right, what am I going to expect as an Atleti fan against a little side that actually have some ballers looking at them, man? I mean, captaining the side, and I want to repeat that, captaining the side, Jonathan David.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Canada's finest.
Seriously, like CONCACAF,
that, man.
Like, yeah, it's crazy. Canada's finest CONCACAF player captaining a European team, top 5 league. It's amazing to see. Underneath him, you have an English player who's gotten recent call-ups to the English national team, Angel Gomez, who's really creative player, who's good at penetrating, who's good at dribbling, who's also good at passing. You have Zegrova on one side as well. But not only that, you have a 17-year-old French product, Ayoub Bouadi is his name. So that's really just interesting to see. Very young player. And then at the back, you have some very good defenders as well. Bakker as a left back position. Alexandro, the Brazilian, in center back. So this team has some really interesting characters. And for Monaco themselves, I mean, they've just slowly built a really good team that this year is going for the title. Against a PSG that no longer has the stars that they had for the last decade. League One is wide open.
Yeah.
So for Monaco, this was a big match as well. Both are in the top 5. I was very excited to see this match. Not much to take away, though, dude. Not much to take away. Monaco were really good for 15 minutes, and then Lille got back into it defensively. But Lille's offense, considering their names, didn't craft anything. So I was very interesting. And the thing is, this is the only game I've seen of Lille. They beat Real Madrid.
Beat them, bro.
So I don't want to honestly be too critical, because maybe it was just an off day. They were on the road. Maybe they have their sight sets for the road game against Atletico, possibly. It was also a Friday after the international break. I just think there's a lot of variables.
I think it's that.
There's a lot of variables. So I don't want to say Lille's offense isn't as hyped as it should be. I don't want to say that, all right? Because they're just, you look at the players, I think they have the potential to pop off.
Yes.
So ultimately, for Atletico, the way I see it, we have a better midfield, all right? We can match up to them physically, and I think we can actually dominate the ball. Thing is, their backline, I think, is going to be able to handle us. And because our offense honestly has not been that good this year. It really hasn't. And so I'm scared that if David decides to show up, if Zegrova decides to show up, if Gomez decides to show up, also Andre Gomez is on this team, the Portuguese ex-Everton. He's also on this team. If they decide to show up, I do think they can beat us.
Where's the game?
It's at the Metropolitano.
Okay. Do you get your fans back for this one? it was half empty today.
It's half empty. I don't actually know.
It's an important part.
I don't think so. But yeah, I'm just concerned the potential of those offense is way higher than ours.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
Oh yeah, way higher.
Offensively, yeah, man.
Yeah. So
it'll be a good game.
It's gonna be a good game because I think our midfield will make it more even, and if we can somehow shut out their offense, I can see us getting the result. But if David decides to show up, man, and he's just going to be his clinical self, Atletico's going to have a hard time.
Thing is, these are the games Atletico has to win in the Champions League after losing to Benfica the way they did. Like,
that's why I'm scared.
You got to get points here.
You got
at
to
home
points.
too. So best of luck, brother. Best of luck. Looking overseas, we have Inter Miami breaking the MLS points record, winning the Supporters Shield with 74 total points. History has been made for Lionel Messi's Inter Miami side. After being the worst team in the league last year, Messi joins, Luis Suarez joins, and they lift the Supporters Shield the year after. And with this victory, Gianni Infantino has announced that Inter Miami has now qualified for the Club World Cup. Your thoughts on that?
Just the Club World Cup and Miami in it?
The fact that people are there's a lot of discourse around the fact that it's a very convenient reward to give to Supporters Shield because it wasn't prefaced like that before. You didn't know going into the league that if you win a Supporters Shield, you would get entry into the Club World Cup. It seems like it's been very much tailored towards whatever Messi ends up winning. That's going to be the qualifying factor.
Yeah, they should have done it for the MLS Cup final winner.
Yeah, that's what people are saying.
Yeah, because why have the cup then if the Supporters Shield is almost more important for this specific year?
In that sense.
For this specific year, it's almost more important. I'm fine with giving an entry because we are hosts, right? You usually do that. But yeah, give it to the best team in the league, which is the MLS Cup winner. Not the Supporters Shield.
I do understand why other teams would be pissed.
Yeah.
But it's Messi.
It's Messi. And also, can we say, by the way, I don't want to bullshit here. I don't want to beat around the bush. Miami are winning the whole thing, right?
Like if they're healthy, yeah.
Let's be completely honest here. Like Columbus, amazing team. Like they're fantastic, and they've proven themselves to be one of the best teams in the MLS for the last 3 years. And they're still playing at such a high level. They probably have one of the better coaches in the league. Cucho Hernandez is playing at such a high level.
Just stop, bro. Just get to it. You know what's going to happen, man.
That's what I'm saying.
You know what's going to happen.
It doesn't matter. Like, LA Galaxy's having the best year in 10 years.
Story, man.
LAFC's still, their classic, experienced selves who can beat pretty much any team in the MLS. Unless you're Messi and Miami, man. I just don't see it. I don't see how a team could stop Lionel Messi if he's healthy, as you said.
Yeah, I remember before the season started, I had expressed doubt towards this Inter Miami side because they were looking terrible preseason, losing all around the world. Worldwide losers.
Do you remember?
Right? A long time ago, man.
That was a while ago.
Long time ago. But a big part of it was also just the health factor. Does Messi get his minutes regulated? Does he sit games out? It seems like he actually did. He was injured for a while as well. But then, to me, one of the biggest factors why Inter Miami has been as successful as they've been this season, and I need to do an apology here, is Luis Suarez.
Dude.
Luis Suarez. I mean, I remember, and I'm surprised no one ever clipped it, but there was an episode at the beginning of the year we had a terrible first game. And I said, I'd be surprised if he scored over 7 goals in the league this year.
Damn.
7, bro. I said 7.
It's hard. It's a little harsh.
Yeah, a little harsh. In 27 matches, 20 goals, 9 assists. And I guess I just underestimated how, in a way, perfectly tailored this league is to Luis Suarez. Because at the end of the day, you don't need crazy pace. Nope. You just need clinical finishing. And Luis Suarez is that. Yeah. He has always been that. Even when his legs fully give out, he'll always be able to finish clinically, bro.
Yeah.
So he's going off this year, and I think it's been perfect for him. The situation's been perfect because he has Messi feeding him. He has all the other players on Inter Miami just feeding him. And so I think it's worked out great for him. So my sincerest apologies, Luis Suarez, because he has fully proved me wrong in the sense of, getting really old, proving that he isn't washed, at least in the MLS sense. And now I think he's destined to become a champion in this league because if he continues playing like this with Messi right beside him, and, there's a highlight the other day that I saw, there was a goal scored where Suarez was involved, Messi was involved, and Kermashki was involved.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he's going to step it up in the playoffs as well.
Yeah.
I think it's Inter Miami's, bro.
It's Inter Miami's.
It's Inter Miami's at the end of the day.
And their offense is so elite. First time in MLS history as well, where they have 2 players on one team getting over 20 goals, Suarez and Messi.
Really?
And you have to consider, Messi was out for like a couple months in total.
Wow.
Yeah, imagine if he had played every game.
That's what people are saying because in his first full season, he had 19 games played, 20 goals, 10 assists. The leading goal scorer for the league was Christian Benteke, surprisingly, with 23, but he played the entire season.
Right.
If Messi had played just like 3 more games, or if Messi was more selfish, he could have cracked 40, 50 goals, dude. Yes. It could have been crazy. But now he sets his sights on the MLS playoffs, and I think Inter Miami is going to be so fun to watch because it's the Messi show now, and I think he's going to be made a priority now to play in these matches, and I think they're destined to win it, man. I think they really are. Although it will be crazy, though, if someone else does.
It would be crazy.
Like, that MLS fan base is going to have so much in all the other fan bases if they win it the year Messi basically was the MVP of the season.
Yeah, I just can't fathom a scenario where that happens, just to be completely honest, unless there's injuries. But yeah, it'd be nuts if a team's able to knock down this Inter Miami side, a historic Inter Miami side.
We got the semifinals of the Copa Sudamericana and the Copa Libertadores. Let's preview these 2 major South American tournaments. And brother, you are Copa Sudamericana correspondent.
Hi.
So please take me into the Sudamericana world and tell me how we're looking going into these semifinals.
Racing are in the semis. And if you can't see me right now, I have a big fucking smile on my face because they are one of my favorite teams in all of world football right now. Simply because they're just a joy to watch offensively. But it all starts with the manager, Gustavo Costas, man. You got to see this guy. He is a show on the sideline. He oozes footballing passion. Honestly, I think he'd be like a psychopath or something outside of if football didn't exist.
Thank God.
Because he's crazy down there, bro. Okay. Crazy. He's constantly screaming. Probably annoying for the players, but the passion that he shows on the sideline emanates to the rest of this team because they play with such vigor, offensively especially, and they have the players to actually execute this offensive style. Adrian Martinez is a very clinical striker. You have Roger Martinez in the bench who can also play up top with him, but then you have a really hardworking Salas. You have Juan Fernando Quintero, the Colombian playmaker, who can also just pull the strings offensively. And then you have ex-Boca Almendra scoring bangers for them throughout this whole entire campaign, going box to box as well. This team works very, very hard, and they beat Atletico Paranaense to get here. The thing is, I expected this. I didn't really rate Paranaense that well. The first leg was a little difficult for Racing in Brazil, but then they went off in Buenos Aires. It was an absolute party. They scored golazo after golazo. Racing showed up, and they have found themselves in the semifinals. And I see them as one of the hottest teams in the Sudamericana and also just in general in all of South America. Here's the problem, though. They're playing Corinthians.
Why is that a problem?
Because they just absolutely dominated Fortaleza. Absolutely dominated them. And if you watch that second leg, Corinthians against Fortaleza, even the first leg as well, it was joga bonito for Corinthians. Joga bonito,
the defending champions.
And you would have thought that it was Fortaleza in the relegation zone. Because right now, Corinthians are actually in the relegation zone. That's the shocking part. But no, it's Corinthians in the relegation zone, not Fortaleza, but they absolutely dominated them. And the reason why I'm worried as a Racing fan is because Corinthians have some really good players on their squad, bro. I'm going to list off some very notable names,
Please.
bro. Igor Coronado. If you remember, he is actually playing at Al Ittihad for the last couple of seasons, but he's found his way back to Brazil, and he is the playmaker for this side. He pretty much does everything. Everything runs through Coronado. He can pass, he can dribble, but he also has scored some really beautiful goals from outside the box. You have Thales Magno, who I've highlighted before, the New York City product. He's a really good penetrator of the ball. Jose Martinez, the Venezuelan defensive midfielder who dominated in the MLS for 3 seasons from Philly, is on this team. Andre Carrillo, the Peruvian,
that's a name right there,
is on this team as well. And if you were watching his games at Al Hilal for the last couple of seasons, he's reverted his style, not from a winger, but actually to a midfielder now. And he's still just creating from that midfield position now in Brazil. Memphis Depay is on this team.
Oh, that's true.
Memphis Depay is on this team. You'll notice if you see games of Corinthians, there's Brazilians with orange hats.
Wow.
Sporting that Dutch beautiful orange, bros, because Depay's on this team. It's crazy. They have some really good players. Garro, an Argentinian playmaker, is also on this team. So it's just offensive player after offensive player. And the thing is, Racing have trouble defensively. They leave holes at the back because they're so offensive-minded. Yeah. Even against a poor Paranaense, in my opinion, they struggled a little bit Racing defensively. So the reason why I'm worried is because Corinthians have nothing but offense. So I do think Racing are going to be exposed over 2 legs. They're going to get goals themselves, but at the end of the day, Corinthians' defense is not that bad. They have a really good goalkeeper who stepped up for them in penalty situations already in this campaign to prove himself as a very good shot stopper. I think Racing are going to find a very difficult opponent in Corinthians. And here's the thing. If I have to be unbiased, I think Corinthians are going to beat them. Yeah. And it sucks, man, because Racing are so fun to watch because they just don't have the same names, but they play just as good football. It's just their defense. Their defense is a little leaky, and I think it's definitely going to show against Corinthians' offense.
Okay. You don't think there's an aspect of what can I find here? Corinthians is in the relegation zone. Maybe we get relegated Corinthians in this match.
That's what I'm wondering as well. What if? The problem is just the way they dominated Fortaleza in both games. I think Corinthians, just from a mental perspective, know that they can get a massive trophy if they just lock in the Sudamericana. And I think they realized that against Fortaleza, and they looked around and they're like, oh, we got studs on this team. Felix Torres, the Ecuadorian center back's also on this team. So I just think they looked around and they're like, oh, if we just lock in, boys, we're going to get out of the relegation zone and we're going to win a big title this year. So that's why I'm worried for Racing. Now, here's the thing. I think Racing are going to have some chances, right? I just think over the course of 2 matches, 2 big matches, Corinthians are going to come out on top. But yeah, I wonder, what if relegation Corinthians shows up? But I just don't think that's going to happen.
First match is in Corinthians, okay? So that's how it starts off. If Racing can get a result there, just something to work with going back home, we could see something special happen.
It's true. Racing have been brilliant in Buenos Aires.
They love playing at home.
Yeah.
They really do. Now tell me about these other two teams, because Cruzeiro ends up going through over Libertad. Libertad, who knocked out the beloved Sportivo Ameliano, right? And on the other side, Lanús goes through over Independiente Medellín. What happened here?
You don't need to know shit about these two teams, bro. Because the winner of Racing or Corinthians is winning this whole thing. It's not even close when you look to the other side of the bracket. Lanús got here through penalty shootout in a tight affair against Medellin. They dominated the first leg in Argentina, but then they went to Colombia and actually found it a little difficult. They really did. It's not surprising, honestly. Medellin were a decent team, but I expected Lanús to somehow squeak out of this. They did. And I also expected Cruzeiro to beat Libertad, just considering Libertad don't have the same names that Cruzeiro have, because Cruzeiro do have some really good offensive pieces as well. And they can play good football. Thing is, what's crazy about that Cruzeiro match is Libertad almost beat Cruzeiro. They almost pulled off a crazy comeback in the second leg. They just had very bad luck. Every shot that they had either hit the post or they just couldn't latch on. And ultimately, that is Libertad. They don't have the quality. But if Libertad just had a better team or better finishers, Cruzeiro would not have won this match. And I think that shows Cruzeiro's problem at the end of the day. They have a good offense, but their defense, you can't trust them. You really can't. They got to the semifinal. They got to this quarterfinal stage by getting lucky with a Boca red card as well. So
I remember that.
You have to consider that too. Like, Cruzeiro have gotten here through some lucky situations. Thing is, I expect Cruzeiro to beat Lanús simply because outside of Marcelino Núñez for Lanús, they don't really have much else going for them offensively. Whereas you look at Cruzeiro, they just have more going for them. Lautaro Diaz, for example, he's actually a really good playmaker and finisher, even though he's a striker. So I just think in general, Cruzeiro have the better players going for them. Also, Mateus Pereiros on this team, he's a baller. Let's just be honest. So the offensive pieces Cruzeiro have are going to be enough to beat Lanús, but no matter what, it's not going to be enough to beat either Corinthians or Racing.
An all-Brazil final then.
Yeah.
All Brazil final with two Brazilian teams facing off against Argentine teams, and the Argentines not being enough, man. We've seen this story. We've seen this story in club football, bro.
We've seen it year to year,
club football, we've seen it.
Club football, we see it year to year recently, as of late.
Man, Racing is the Cinderella team. They're the team to watch. It's potentially exploding in this tournament.
I'm giving them everything I've got, man. Just because from a biased perspective, I want Racing to go all the way. They really are one of my favorite teams to watch. And for them to lift a continental title, just considering everything that they've been through, this would be awesome for a club like Racing. When it's usually River Plate specifically, or even Boca to an extent, man. For Racing to get this far, they can make a final, then it'd just be crazy. It'd be crazy scenes.
And I bring you a very similar story in the Copa Libertadores, man.
Tell me, brother.
Very similar tale.
Really?
One of a Cinderella team that I've fallen in love with, that has the potential of going to the final and lifting a trophy for a team that is not Brazilian, set to face off against a Brazilian, you could say, giant, and expected to lose. When you look at when you look at the roster, when you look at the names, when you look at the position in the table, all signs point to Botafogo defeating Peñarol. I'm going to just put it to you like that.
Yeah.
Both teams first place in their own respective leagues. This is a battle of South American giants here, man.
That's dope.
Peñarol in first, Botafogo in first, man. No relegation zone bullshit, you know? The top teams in South America going at it. That I love. But it's very similar, man, to your Racing Club analysis. Peñarol has a couple of ballers. They got a couple of balls, and one being a major baller, potentially the best player in the Copa Libertadores campaign so far, Leo Fernandez. I've mentioned him before. I'm going to mention him again. 15 goals, 5 assists this season for the team. And specifically in Copa Libertadores, in 10 matches played, 3 goals and 5 assists. He is the smartest player every time that he is on the pitch, the most creative, the most dangerous, and he can single-handedly carry this Peñarol offense if everyone, is working with him on the same page as him, because he can do it all essentially. The problem is that against Botafogo, you're facing potentially the best offense in all of South America. Let me go through it, bro.
Please.
An offense that has scored the most goals in Brazil, 48 goals so far this season, with names like Marlon Freitas, Savarino, Igor Jesus, who you might have just seen don the Brazilian national team kit, Luis Enrique, who you might have just seen don the Brazilian national team kit, Thiago Almada, who you might have seen dominate for Atlanta United in the MLS. Alex Telles, who in his best days played for Manchester United and then over in Saudi Arabia. Those are just the offensive players, man. That's just the offense, because defensively they've been incredible as well, with really solid players. On paper, Botafogo should win this.
Okay.
And I'm sorry to say that, man. I really am, because when it comes to story, I'm giving everything to this Uruguayan Peñarol side, who has been so fun to watch. The atmospheres have been incredible. Their head coach, who used to be a player for Peñarol, lifting the title back when he played for the team. It's just a beautiful narrative, man. But I think Botafogo will ultimately end up defeating them.
Damn. Yeah. It's just
same thing, man.
You think just in general the defensive Peñarol is just not going to be able to handle Botafogo? Just can't.
No, that's a big one.
Yeah,
that's a big one.
Yeah.
And I think just it's very similar to what you said about Corinthians. Like, I think Botafogo, after being in a really tight contest against Sao Paulo in the quarterfinals, will be like, guys, we're the better team here.
Yeah.
Don't get tricked.
Yeah.
We have the better players. If we play up to our level, we should win. Thing is, I think Peñarol will make it very, very difficult. And like, if they upset Botafogo, I won't be surprised. I'll be cheering. I'll be right there with them. But if I had to put money on it, it's Botafogo making a Copa Libertadores final, which I think was also a really dope story as well.
Yeah, it is dope.
Yeah.
I mean, it is really cool to see Botafogo top the Brazilian table and go this deep in, the Premier League, the Premier Continental League of South America, the Copa Libertadores. So it's so cool to see them dominate on both fronts. The disaster last year is almost being completely redeemed. Almost.
If they get the double.
Did they get the double?
You don't get doubles in South America, man.
No, dude. Like, usually you just choose one or the other.
Single,
you take hits. And the one that you don't care about, man.
If they got the double, bro,
That'd
that'd be crazy to see from a team that isn't Flamengo, from a team that isn't Palmeiras, that isn't a big Brazilian team historically. For Botafogo to do it and lift their first Brazilian title as well in over 25 plus years would be the best year in Botafogo's history, man.
Yeah.
So that's what they're chasing. And Peñarol's in the way.
One thing about Leo Fernandez, man, and not even about the way he plays, because he really is a baller. He's just so fun to watch from a playmaking perspective. But his career is so weird.
Man. Yeah.
His career is so weird. Uruguayan product, goes to Toluca, pops off, man. Pops off. He was one of their best players, not just for Toluca, but in Liga MX. Goes to Tigres, and Tuca Ferretti could not figure out how to put him in the team. And that almost makes me question if Ferretti's a good coach anymore,
I think we've known that for a while, man.
But then...
Ferretti ain't it.
But then... Leo Fernandez goes back to Toluca, pops off again, showing that Tigres, Ferretti were wrong. And you know what's crazy about Leo Fernandez? He won the Copa Lib last year. Did you know that?
With Fluminense?
He was on the bench.
Oh, he was.
He was on the
team. I remember seeing
But he
that.
never played.
Yeah,
He didn't even get like scrap garbage minutes. He never played.
Bro.
But he was there. He won the Copa Libertadores.
He didn't win shit, bro.
He did. He has the medal to prove it.
He did.
He's also the second player ever to win a CONCACAF Champions League and a Copa Libertadores.
Man.
So it's just crazy to see Fernandez once again in the right system pop off. So I think Fernandez is he's a system guy. If you give him the right tools to work with, he can absolutely run an offense. But if you don't have the faith in him, he doesn't even play.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
That's crazy, man. But I think he could go down as a Peñarol legend here if he guides them playing meaningful minutes to the Copa Libertadores trophy. That's why I'm giving my heart to Peñarol.
Let's go.
But I got Botafogo winning. And the other matchup, very similar to yours, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, bro. Between Atletico Mineiro and River Plate, Atletico Mineiro is currently in 9th place. River Plate is in 8th. So they're actually even as well, in the same sense that Peñarol and Botafogo in first place in their leagues. Atletico Mineiro in 9th place. They last won this trophy in 2013. They got here by surviving, I would call, their matchup against San Lorenzo in the round of 16 and then defeating Fluminense 2-1 over 2 legs. Fluminense, defending champions, go down to the Brazilian competitors in Atletico Mineiro. And now they're set off to face against River Plate, man, who won the Copa Lib in 2015 and 2018. Got here by defeating Colo Colo in the quarterfinals. I wouldn't say very convincingly, but they were the better team. But I think after that performance, I kind of see that this isn't the best River Plate team I've seen, man. Like this isn't the same team I saw in 2018 defeat Boca Juniors, man, with Julian Alvarez on the team and major stars. This isn't the same team. Yes, they're good, but I feel like they've so far have been good enough. Similar to how Boca Juniors made the final last year, where at the end of the day, yeah, they faced off against some notable teams, but they did just enough to get to the final and then ultimately get caught off guard. I think River Plate is kind of on the same path here, man, because I think whether it's Botafogo or Peñarol, I think both those teams are unforgiving ultimately. And after I saw Peñarol defeat Flamengo, a big name in Brazil, over 2 matches, I don't see Atletico Mineiro or River Plate having enough to even beat them if they end up going through. Yeah. So if it's Botafogo, it's good night to the rest of these teams. If it's Peñarol, there's more of a chance. But I don't think I see it for either one of these teams going through and making it as champions of Copa Libertadores. When it comes to this specific matchup, though, I'm going to just go River. Yeah. I'm going to go River. Yeah. I'm going to go River. They have the history. They have the class. They do have the Marcelo Gallardo still leading them, returning to the team, guiding this team once again. And Atletico Mineiro, I was disappointed with their performance against San Lorenzo personally. And then what I saw from Fluminense, I thought was solid enough, but I don't see them as potential champions either. So I got River Plate going through here, but Botafogo, Peñarol ultimately lifting the trophy.